Book 9. Book 9. Argument. To Agamemnon, urging hopeless flight, stand Diomed. To Agamemnon, urging hopeless flight, stand Diomed and Nestor opposite. By Nestor's counsel, legates are dismissed to Thetis' son, who did not. Legates. Book 9. Argument. To Agamemnon, urging hopeless flight, stand Diomed and Nestor opposite. By Nestor's counsel, legates are dismissed to Thetis' son, who still denies to assist. By Nestor's counsel, legates are dismissed to By Nestor's counsel, legates are dismissed to Thetis' son, who still denies to assist. Another argument. Iota sings the embassy, and great Achilles' stern reply. Iota sings the embassy, and great Achilles' stern reply. So held the Trojans sleepless guard, the Greeks to flight were given. The feeble consort of cold fear so held the Trojans sleepless guard, the Greeks to flight were given. The feeble consort of cold fear, strangely infused from heaven. Grief not to be endured did wound all the Greeks of greatest worth. And as two lateral-sided winds, the west wind and the north, meet at the Thracian sea's black breast, join in a sudden blore, tumble together the dark waves and pour upon the shore a mighty deal of froth and weed, with which men manure ground. So Jove and Troy did drive the Greeks, and all their minds confound. But Agamemnon most of all was tortured at his heart. Who to the voiceful heralds went, and bade them cite apart each Grecian leader severally, not openly proclaim, in which he labored with the first. Each Grecian leader severally, not openly proclaim, in which he labored with the first, and all together came. They sadly sate. The king all together came. They sadly sate. The king arose and poured out. They sadly sate. The king arose and poured out tears as fast as from a lofty rock a spring doth his black waters cast. As fast as from a lofty rock a spring doth his black waters cast, and deeply sighing, thus bespake the archives. Here, friends, a dream divine. Thus bespake the archives. O my friends, princes and leaders of the Greeks, heaven's adverse king extends his wrath with too much detriment to my so just design, since he hath often promised me my so just design, since he hath so often promised me, and bound it with the sign of his bent forehead, that this Troy our vengeful hand should race, and safe return. Yet, now engaged, he plagues us with disgrace. He plagues us with disgrace, when all our trust to him hath drawn so much blood from our friends. My glory, nor my brother's wreak were the proposed ends for which he drew you to these toils, but your whole country's shame, which had been huge to bear the rape of so divine a dame, made in despite of our revenge. Made in despite of our revenge. And yet, not that had moved our powers to these designs, if Jove had not our drifts approved, which, since we see he did for blood, 'tis desperate fight in us to strive with him. Then let us fly, 'tis flight he urgeth thus. 'Tis flight he urgeth thus. 'Tis flight he urgeth thus. Long time urgeth thus. Long time still silence held them all. At last did Diomed rise. Atrides, I am first must cross thy indiscreet advice. Suppress thine anger. Atrides, I am first must cross thy indiscreet advice, as may become me. Indiscreet advice, as may become me, being a king in this our martial court. Be not displeased then, for thyself didst broadly misreport in open field my fortitude, and called me faint and weak. Yet I was silent, knowing the time, loth any rights to break that appertained thy public rule. Yet all the Greeks knew well, of every age thou didst me wrong, as thou didst me wrong, as thou then didst did me wrong, as thou then didst repel my valor first of all the host, as of a man dismayed, so now, with fit occasion given, I first blame thee afraid. Inconstant Saturn's son hath given inconstant spirits to thee, and with a scepter over all an eminent degree. But with a scepter's sovereign grace, the chief power, fortitude, to bridle thee he thought Fortitude, to bridle thee he thought not best. Fortitude, to bridle thee he thought not best thy breast should be endued. Unhappy king, think'st thou the Greeks are such a silly sort, and so excessive impotent as thy weak words import? If thy mind move thee to be gone, the way is open, go. Mycenaean ships enow ride near, that brought thee to this woe. The rest of Greece will stay, nor stir till Troy be overcome with full eversion. Or, if not, but doters of their home will put on wings to fly with thee, myself and Sthenelus will fight till, trusting favoring Jove, we bring home Troy with us. Favoring Jove, we bring home Troy with us. This all applauded and admired the spirit of Diomed, when Nestor, rising from the rest, his speech thus seconded. When Nestor, rising from the rest, his speech thus seconded. O gods, our Greek earth will be drowned in just tears. When Nestor, rising from the rest, his speech thus seconded. Tydides, thou art questionless our strongest Greek in war, and gravest in thy counsels too, of all that equal are in place with thee, and stand on strength. nor is there any one can blame or contradict thy speech. And yet thou hast not gone so far, but we must further go. Thou art young, and well mightst be my youngest son, though still I yield thy words had high degree of wisdom in them to our king, since well they did become their right in question. Since well they did become their right in question, and refute inglorious going in question, and refute inglorious going home. But I, well known thy senior far, will speak and handle all yet to propose, which none shall check, no, not our general, a hater of society, our general. A hater of society, unjust and wild is he, that loves intestine war, being stuffed with manless cruelty. And therefore, in persuading peace and home flight, we the less may blame our general, as one loth to wrap in more distress his loved soldiers. But because they bravely are resolved to cast their lives after toils, before they part in shame involved, provide we for our honored stay. For our honored stay. Obey our honored stay. Obey black night, and fall now to our suppers. Then anoint our guards without the wall, and in the bottom of the dike, which guards I wish may stand of our brave youth. And, Atreus' son, since thou art in command before our other kings, And, Atreus' son, since thou art in command before our other kings, be first in thy command's effect. It well becomes thee, since 'tis both what all thy peers expect. And in the royal right of things is no impair to thee, nor shall it stand with less than right that they invited be to supper by thee. All thy tents are amply stored with wine, brought daily in Greek ships from Thrace, and to this grace of thine all necessaries thou hast fit, and store of men to wait. And many meeting there, thou mayest hear every man's conceit, and take the best. And many meeting there, you mayst hear every man's conceit, and take the best. It much concerns all Greeks to use advice of gravest nature, since so near our ships our enemies have lighted such a sort of fires, with which what man is joyed. Look how all bear themselves this night, so live or be destroyed. Look how all bear themselves. What man is joyed? Look how all bear themselves this night, so live or be destroyed. All heard, and followed his advice. There was appointed then 7 captains of the watch, who forth did march with all their men. The first with all their men. The first was famous Thrasymed. Adviceful Nestor's son, Ascalaphus and Ialmen, and mighty Merion, Alphareus and Deiporus, and lovely Lycomed, old Creon's joy. These 7 bold lords and 100 soldiers led in every severed company, and every man his pike, some placed on the rampire's top, and some amidst the dike. Alphareus, Deiporus, and mighty Merion, Alphareus and Deiporus, and lovely Diomed, Ascalaphus and Iomen, Nestor's son, Ascalaphus. All heard and followed his advice. There was appointed then seven captains of the watch, who forth did march with all their men. The first was famous Thrasymed, adviceful Nestor's son, Ascalaphus and Ialmen, and mighty Merion, Alphareus, and Deiporus, and lovely Lycomed, old Creon's joy. These 7 bold lords and 100 soldiers led in These 7 bold lords and 100 soldiers led in every severed company, and every man his pike, some placed on the rampire's top, and every man his pike, some placed on the rampire's top, and some amidst the dike. All fires made, their suppers took. Atrides to his tent invited, their suppers took. Atrides to his tent, all fires made, their suppers took. Atrides to his tent invited all the peers of Greece, and food sufficient opposed before them, and food sufficient opposed before them, and the peers opposed their hands to it. Hunger and thirst being quickly quenched, to council still they sit. And first spake Nestor, who they thought of late advised so well, a father grave and rightly wise, who thus his tale did tell. Most high Atrides, since in O gods, who thus his tale did tell. Most high Atrides, since in thee I have intent to end, from thee will I begin my speech, to whom Jove doth commend, the empire of so many men, and puts into thy hand a scepter and established laws, that thou mayst well command, and a scepter and established laws, that thou mayst well command, and counsel all men under thee. It therefore doth behove thyself to speak most, since of all thy speeches most will move, and yet to hear as well as speak, and then perform as well a free just counsel. In thee still must stick what others tell. From me, what in my judgment stands the most convenient, I will advise, and am assured advice more competent shall not be given. The general proof that hath before been made of what I speak confirms me still, and now may well persuade, because I could not then, yet ought, when thou, most royal king, even from the tent Achilles' love didst violently bring against my counsel, urging thee by all means to relent. Achilles' love didst violently bring against my counsel, urging thee by all means to relent. But you, obeying your high mind, would venture the event, dishonoring our ablest Greek, a man the immortal's grace. Ablest Greek, a man the immortal's grace. Again, yet let's dishonoring our ablest Greek. Venture the event, dishonoring our ablest Greek, a man the immortal's grace. Again, yet let's deliberate to make him now embrace affection to our general good, and bring his force to field. Both which kind words and pleasing gifts must make his virtues yield. And pleasing gifts must make his virtues yield. O father, answered the king, my wrongs thou tell'st me right. Mine own offense, mine own tongue grants. One must stand and fight for our whole army. Mine own tongue grants. One man must stand and fight for our whole army. Him I wronged. Him Jove loves from his heart. He shows it in thus honoring him, who living thus apart, proves us but number, for his want makes all our weakness seen. Yet, after my confused offense, soothing my humorous spleen, I'll sweeten his effects again with presents infinite, which, to approve my firm intent, I'll openly recite. 7 sacred tripods, free from fire, 10 talents of fine gold, 20 bright cauldrons, 12 young horse, well shaped and well controlled, and victors too, for they have won the prize at many a race that man should not be for they have won the prize at many a race, and victors too, for they have won the prize at many a race, that man should not be poor that had but what their winged pace hath added to my treasury, nor feels sweet gold's defect. 7 Lesbian ladies he shall have, that were the most select, and in their needles rarely skilled, whom, when he took the town of famous Lesbos, I did choose, who won the chief renown for beauty from their whole fair sex, amongst whom I'll resign fair Briseis, and I deeply swear, for any fact of mine that may discourage her receipt, she is untouched, and rests as he resigned her. To these gifts, if Jove to our requests vouchsafe if Jove to our requests vouchsafe performance, and afford the work for which we wait of winning Troy with brass, and gold shall his navy freight, and entering, when we be at spoil, that princely hand of his shall choose him 20 Trojan dames, excepting Tyndarus, the fairest Pergamus enfolds. And if we make retreat to Argos, called of all the world the naval or chief seat, he shall become my son-in-law, and I will honor him, even as Orestes, my sole son, that doth in honors swim. 3 daughters in my well-built court unmarried are, and fair, Laodice, Chrysothemis, that hath the golden hair, and Iphianassa, Chrysothemis, that hath the golden hair, and Iphianassa, Of all three, the worthiest let him take, all jointureless to Peleus' court. All jointureless to Peleus, all jointureless to Peleus' court. I will her jointure make, Peleus' court. I will her Peleus' court. I will her jointure make, and that so great as jointure make, and that so great as never yet did any maid prefer. 7 cities right magnificent I will bestow on her, Inope and Cardamele. Inope, Cardamele. I'm going to say Inope. I put the pe because it's closer to ancient Greek, but this translation doesn't really keep that close to the ancient Greek. It's more closer to the Latin. Hera, Epia, Pedasus, Phera, Antia. Okay. And that's so great as never did any maid prefer. So great as never yet did any maid prefer. 7 cities right prefer. 7 cities right magnificent. 7 cities prefer. 7 cities right magnificent I will bestow on her, Inope and Cardamele, Hera for herbs renowned, the fair Epia, Pedasus, that doth with grapes abound, Antia, girded with green maids, Phera, surnamed divine, all whose bright turrets on the seas in sandy Pylos shine. The inhabitants in flocks and herds are wondrous confluent, who, like a god, will honor him, and with him gifts present. Confluent, who, like a god, will honor him, and with him gifts present. And to his throne will contribute what tribute he will rate. All this I gladly will perform to pacify his hate. Let him be mild and tractable. 'Tis for the god of ghosts. Let him be mild and tractable. 'Tis for the god of ghosts to be unruled, implacable, to seek the blood of hosts, whom therefore men do. Seek the blood of hosts, whom therefore men do much abhor. Then let him yield to me. I am his greater, being a king, and more in years than he. Blood of hosts, I gladly will perform to pacify his hate. Let him be mild and tractable. 'Tis for the god of ghosts to be unruled, implacable, and seek the blood of hosts. Implacable, and seek the blood of hosts, whom therefore men do much abhor. Then let him yield to me. I am his greater, being a king, and more in years than he. I am his greater, being a king, and more in years than he. Then let him yield to me. I am his greater, being a king, and more in years than he. Brave king, said Nestor, these rich gifts must make him needs relent. Choose then fit legates instantly to greet him at his tent. But stay, admit my choice of them, and let them straight be gone. Jove-loved Phoenix shall be chief, then Ajax Telamon, and Prince Ulysses. And on them let these 2 heralds wait, grave Odius and Eurybates. Come, lords, take water straight, make pure your hands, and with sweet words appease Achilles' mind. which we will pray the God of gods may gently make inclined, which we will pray the God of gods may gently make inclined. Make inclined. All liked his speech, and on their hands the heralds water shed, and on their hands the heralds water shed. The youths crowned cups of sacred wine to all distributed. But, having sacrificed and drunk to every man's content, with many notes by Nestor given, the legates forward went. With courtship in fit gestures used he to prepare. With courtship in fit gestures used, he did prepare them well. With courtship in fit gestures used, he did prepare them well. But most Ulysses, for his grace did not so much excel, such right. Ulysses, for his grace did not so much excel. Such rights beseem ambassadors, and Nestor urged these that their most honors might reflect enraged Aeacides. They went along the shore and prayed the god that the earth doth bind. They went along the shore and prayed the god that earth doth bind in brackish chains. They might not fail, but bow his mighty mind. The quarter of the Myrmidons they reached and found him his mighty mind. The quarter of the Myrmidons they reached, and found him set delighted with his solemn harp, which curiously was fret with works conceited through the verge. The baldric that embraced his lofty neck was silver twist. This, when his hands laid waste Eetion's city, he did choose as his especial prize, and, loving sacred music well, made it his exercise. To it he sung the glorious deeds of great hero is dead. And his true mind, that practice failed, sweet contemplation fed. With him alone and opposite, all silent, sat his friend, attentive and beholding him, who now his song did end. Attentive and beholding him, his friend, attentive and beholding him, who now his song did end. The ambassadors did forward press, renowned Ulysses did forwards press. The ambassadors did forwards press, renowned Ulysses led, and stood in view. Their sudden sight his admiration bred, who with his harp and all arose. So did Menoetius' son when he beheld them. Their receipt Achilles thus begun. Let us ask some prophet, priest, or prove some dream interpreter, for dreams are often sent by Jove. When he beheld them, their receipt Achilles thus begun. And so did Menoetius' son. When he beheld them, their receipt Achilles thus begun. Health to my lords, right welcome men assure. Begun. Health to my lords, right welcome men assure yourselves you be. Right welcome men assure yourselves you be, though some necessity I know doth make you visit me, incensed with just cause 'gainst the Greeks. This said, a several seat with purple cushions he set forth, and did their ease entreat, and said, Now, friend, our greatest bowl, with wine unmixed and neat, oppose these lords, and of the depth let every man make proof. These are my best esteemed friends, and underneath my roof make proof. These are my best esteemed friends, and underneath my roof. Esteemed friends, and underneath my roof. These are my best esteemed friends, and underneath my roof. Patroclus did his dear friend's will, and he that did desire to cheer the lords came, and he that did desire to cheer the lords, and he that did desire to cheer the lords came faint from fight, set on a blazing fire a great brass pot, and into it a chine of mutton put, and fat goat's flesh. Automedon held while he pieces cut to roast and boil right cunningly. Then of a well-fed swine a huge fat shoulder he cuts out, and spits it wondrous fine. His good friends made a goodly fire, of which the force once past, he laid the spit low near the coals to make it brown at last. Then sprinkled it with sacred salt, and took it from the racks. This roasted, and on dresser set, his friend Patroclus takes. Dresser set, his frere. This roasted, and on dresser set, his friend Patroclus takes bread in their. His friend Patroclus takes bread in fair baskets, which set on Achilles brought the meat, and to divinest Ithacus took his opposed seat upon the bench. Then did he will his friend to sacrifice, who cast sweet incense in the fire to all the deities. Thus fell they to their ready food. Hunger and thirst allayed, Ajax to Phoenix made a sign, as if too long they stayed before they told their legacy. Ulysses saw him wink, and filling the great bowl with wine did to Achilles drink. Chryses, the mighty king of men, great Agamemnon sends thy loved seed by mine hands to thine. The great bowl with wine did to Achilles drink. Health to Achilles. Health to Achilles. Health to Achilles. But our plights stand not in need of meat. Health to Achilles. But our plights stand not in need of meat, who late supped at Atrides' tent, though for thy love we eat of many things. Atrides' tent, though for thy love we eat of many things, whereof a part would make a complete feast. Of many things, whereof a part would make a complete feast. Nor can we joy in these kind rites that have our hearts oppressed. Can we joy in these kind rites that have our hearts oppressed, O Prince, with fear of utter spoil? 'Tis made a question now if we can save our fleet or not, unless thyself endow thy powers with wonted fortitude. Now Troy and her consorts, bold of thy want, have pitched their tents close to our fleet and forts. and made a firmament of fires. And now no more, they say, will they be prisoned. They say, will they be prisoned in their walls, but force their walls, but force their violent way, even to our ships. Their violent way, even to our ships. And Jove himself hath with his, and Jove himself hath with, and Jove himself hath with it, and Jove himself hath with his lightnings, himself hath with his lightning showed their bold adventures happy signs. And Hector grows so proud of his huge strength borne out by Jove that fearfully he raves, presuming neither men nor gods can interrupt his braves. Wild rage invades him, and he prays that soon the sacred morn would light his fury, boasting then to our streamers shall be torn. Boasting then our streamers shall be torn, and all our naval ornaments fall by his conquering stroke. Our ships shall burn, and we ourselves lie stifled in the smoke. And I am seriously afraid heaven will perform his threats, and that 'tis fatal to us all, far from our native seats, to perish in victorious Troy. But rise, though it be late. But rise in victorious Troy. But rise, though it be late, deliver the afflicted Greeks. Though it be late, deliver the afflicted Greeks from Troy's tumultuous hate. It will hereafter be thy grief when no strength can suffice, to remedy the effective. It will hereafter be thy grief when no strength can suffice to remedy the affected threats of our calamities. Consider these affairs in time, while thou mayest use thy power, and have the grace to turn from Greece fate's unrecovered hour. O friend, thou knowest thy royal sire forewarned what should be done. That day he sent thee from his court to honor. Thou knowest, O friend, thou knowest thy royal sire forewarned what should be done. That day he sent thee from his court to honor Atreus, from his court to honor Atreus' son. My son, said he, the victory let Jove and Pallas use at their high pleasures, but do thou no honored means refuse that may advance her. Chryses the mighty refuse. The victory let Jove and Pallas use at their high pleasures, but do thou no honored means refuse that may advance her. In fit bounds contain thy mighty mind. In fit bounds contain thy mighty mind. Nor let the knowledge of thy strength be factiously inclined, contriving mischiefs. Be to fame and general good professed. The more will all sorts honor thee. Benignity is best. Thus charge thy sire, which thou forgett'st. Thus charged thy sire, which thou forgett'st. Yet now those thoughts appease that torture thy great spirit with wrath, if thou wilt surcease with wrath, which, if thou wilt surcease, the king will merit it with gifts. The king will merit it with gifts. And if thou wilt give ear, I'll tell you I'll tell how much he offers thee, and I'll tell, will give ear. I'll tell how much he offers thee, yet thou sitst angry here. 7 tripods that no fire must touch, twice 10 pans fit for flame, 10 talents of fine gold, 12 horse that ever overcame and brought huge prizes from the field with swiftness of their feet. That man should bear no poor account, nor want gold's quickening sweet, that had but what he won with them. Gold's quickening sweet, that had but what he won with them. 7 worthiest lesbian dames, renowned for skill in housewifery, and bear the sovereign fames of beauty from their general sex, which at thy overthrow of well-built Lesbos he did choose. And these he will bestow, and with these her he took from thee, whom by his state since then he swears he touched not, as fair dames used to be touched by men. All these are ready for thee now. And if at length we take, by help of gods, this wealthy town, thy ships shall burthen make of gold and brass at thy desires, when we the spoil divide. And 20 beauteous Trojan dames thou shalt select beside, next Helen the most beautiful. And when returned we be to Argos, be his son-in-law, for he will honor thee like his Orestes, his sole son, maintained in height of bliss. 3 daughters beautify his court, the fair Chrysothemis, Laodice, and Iphianace. Of all the fairest take, and Iphianace. Of all the fairest take to Peleus, thy grave father's court, and never jointure make. He will the jointure make himself, so great as never sire gave to his daughter's nuptials. 7 cities to his daughter's nuptials. 7 cities left entire, Cardamyle and Inope and Hera full of flowers, Antia for sweet meadows praised, and Phaera decked with towers, the bright Ippia, Pedasus, that doth the bright Ippia, Pedasus, that doth God Bacchus please. Bright Ippia, Pedasus, that doth God Bacchus please. Pedasus, that doth God Bacchus please. All on the sandy Pylos soil are seated near the seas. The inhabitants in droves and flocks exceeding wealthy be, who like a god with worthy gifts will gladly honor thee, and tribute of a special rate to thy high scepter pay. All this he freely will perform thy anger to allay. But if thy hate to him be more than his gifts may repress, yet pity all the other Greeks. In such extreme distress, who with religion honor thee, and to their desperate ill thou shalt triumphant glory bring, and Hector thou mayst kill. Glory bring, and Hector thou mayst kill, when pride makes him encounter thee, filled with a baneful sprite, who vaunts our whole fleet, brought not one equal to him in fight. Who vaunts our whole fleet, brought not one equal to him in fight. Who vaunts our whole fleet, brought not one equal to him in fight. Swift-foot Aeacides replied, Let us ask some prophet, equal to him in fight. Swift-foot Aeacides replied, Divine Laertes' son, 'tis requisite I should be short, and show what place hath won thy serious speech, affirming not but what you shall approve, established in my settled heart, that in the rest I move to murmur nor exception. In the rest I move no murmur nor exception, for like hell mouth I loathe who holds not in his words and thoughts one indistinguished truth. What fits the freeness of my mind, my speech shall make displayed. Nor Atreus' son, nor all the Greeks shall win me to their aid. Their suit is wretchedly enforced to free their own despairs, and my life never shall be hired with thankless desperate prayers. For never had I benefit that ever foiled the foe, even share hath he that keeps his tent, and he to field doth go. That ever foiled the foe. Even share hath he that keeps his tent, and he to field doth go. With equal honor cowards lie, and men most valiant, the much performer, and the man that can of nothing vaunt. No overplus I ever found, when with my mind's most strife to do them good, to dangerous fight I have exposed my life. But even as to unfeathered birds the careful dam brings meat, which when she hath bestowed, herself hath nothing left to eat. So when my broken sleeps have drawn the nights to extremest length, and ended many bloody days with still employed strength, to guard their weakness and preserve their wives' contents in fract, I have been robbed before their eyes. 12 cities I have sacked, assailed by sea, 11 by land, while this siege held at Troy. And of all these, what was most dear and most might crown the joy of Agamemnon, he enjoyed, who here behind remained, which when he took, a few he gave, and many things retained. Other to optimates and kings he gave, who hold them fast, yet mine he forceth. Siege held at Troy. And of all these, what was most dear and most might crown the joy of Agamemnon, he enjoyed, who here behind remained, which when he took, a few he gave, and many things retained. Other to optimates and kings he gave, who held them fast, yet mine he forceth. Only I sit with my loss, only I Only I sit with my loss disgraced. But so he gain a lovely dame to be his bed's delight, it is enough. For what cause else do Greeks and Trojans fight? Why brought he hither such an host? Was it not for a dame, for fair-haired Helen? And doth love alone the hearts inflame of the And doth love alone the hearts inflame of the Atrides to their wives, of all men that move? And doth love alone inflame in fair-haired Helen? And doth love alone the hearts inflame of the Atrides to their wives, of all the men that move? Every discreet and honest mind cares for his private love as much as they. As I myself loved Briseis as my life, although my captive, and had willed to take her for my wife, whom since he forced, preventing me, in vain he shall prolong hopes to appease me. Whom since he forced, preventing me, in vain he shall prolong hopes to appease me. In vain he shall prolong hopes to appease me, that know well the deepness of my wrong. But, good Ulysses, with thyself and all you other kings, let him take stomach to repel Troy's fiery threat. Let all you other kings, let him take stomach to repel Troy's fiery threatenings. Much hath he done without my help, built him a goodly fort, cut a dike by it, pitched with pails, broad and of deep import. And cannot all these helps repress this kill-man Hector's fright? When I was armed among the Greeks, he would not offer fight without the shadow of the walls. Without the shadow of his walls, but to the sea and ports, or to the holy beach of Jove, came backed with his consorts, where once he stood my charge. Where once he stood my charge alone, and hardly made retreat. And to make new proof of our powers, the doubt is not so. Great. Tomorrow then, with sacrifice performed to imperial Jove and all the gods, I'll launch my fleet and all my men remove. Which, if thou wilt use so thy sight, or thinkst it worth respect in forehead of the morn, thine eyes shall see, with sails erect, amidst the fishy Hellespont, helped with laborious oars. And if the sea gods send free sail, the fruitful Thyian shores within 3 days we shall attain, where I have store of prize left when with prejudice I came to these indignities. There have I gold as well as here, and store of ruddy brass, dames slender, elegantly girt, and steel as bright as glass. These will I take as I retire, as shares I firmly save, though Agamemnon be so base. I firmly save, though Agamemnon be so the gifts I retire, as shares I firmly save, though Agamemnon be so base to take the gifts he gave. Though Agamemnon be so base to take the gifts he gave. Tell him all this, and openly, I on your honors charge, that others may take shame to hear his lust's command so large. And if there yet remain a man he hopeth to deceive, being dyed in endless impudence, that man may learn to leave his trust and empire. But alas, though like a wolf he be shameless and rude, he durst not take my prize and look on me. Shameless and rude, he durst not take my prize and look on me. I never will partake his works, nor counsels as before. He once deceived and injured me, and he shall never more tie my affections with his words. Enough is the increase of one success in his deceits, which let him joy in peace, and bear it to a wretched end. With Jove hath left a wretched end. Wise Jove hath reft his brain to bring him plagues, and these his gifts I as my foes disdain. Even in the numbness of calm death I will revengeful be, though wise Jove hath reft his brain to bring him plagues, and these his gifts. Wise Jove hath reft his brain to bring him plagues, and these his gifts I as my foes disdain. Even in the numbness of calm death I will revengeful be, though 10 or 20 times so much he would bestow on me. All he hath here or anywhere, or Orchomen would bestow on me. All he hath here or anywhere, or Orchomen would bestow on me. All he hath here or anywhere, or Orchomen contains, to which men bring their health for strength, or all the store remains in circuit of Egyptian Thebes, where much hid treasure lies, whose walls contain 100 ports of so admired a size 200 soldiers may affront with horse and chariots pass. Nor would he amplify all this like sand or dust or grass. Chariots pass. Nor would he amplify all this like sand or dust or grass, should he reclaim me, till his reek paid me. Or grass, should he reclaim me, till this reek paid me for all the pains that with his contumely burned. Contumely. For all the pains that with his contumely burned like for all the pains that with his contumely burned like poison in my veins. Nor shall his daughter be my wife in my veins. Nor shall his daughter be my wife, although she might contend with golden Venus. Nor shall his daughter be my wife, although she might contend with golden Venus for her form, or if she did transcend blue-eyed Minerva for her works. Let him a Greek select, fit for her, and a greater king. Let him a Greek select, fit for her and a greater king. For if the gods protect my safety to my father's court, he shall choose me a wife. Many fair archive princesses of unimpeded life in Heli and unimpeded life in Heli and in Thia live, whose sires do cities hold, of whom I can have whom I will, and more an hundredfold whom I will. And more an hundredfold my true mind in my country likes to take a lawful wife than in another nation, and there delight my life with these goods that another nation, and there delight my life with those goods that my father got, much rather than die here. Much rather than die here. Not all the wealth of well-built Troy possessed when peace was there, all that Apollo's marble fane in stony Pythos holds, I value equal with the life that my free breast enfolds. Sheep, oxen, tripods, crest-decked horse, though lost, may come again. But when the white guard of our teeth no longer can contain our human soul, away it flies, and once gone, nevermore to her frail mansion any man can her lost powers restore. And therefore, since my mother queen, famed for her silver feet, told me 2 fates about my death in my direction meet, the one that if I here remain to assist our victory, my safe return shall never live, my fame shall never, the one that if I here remain to assist our victory, my safe return shall never live, my fame shall never die. My safe return shall never live, my fame shall never die. My fame shall never die. My safe return to assist our victory, my safe return shall never live, my fame shall never die. If my return obtain success, much of my fame decays, but death shall linger his approach, and I live many days. This being revealed, 'twere foolish pride to abridge my life for praise. 'Twere foolish pride to abridge my life for praise. 'Twere foolish pride to abridge my life for praise. Then with myself I will advise others to hoist their. This being revealed, 'twere foolish pride to abridge my life for praise. Then with myself I will advise others to hoist their. Then with myself I will advise others to hoist their sail, for against the height of Iliad you never shall prevail. Of Iliad you never shall prevail. Jove with his hand protecteth it, and makes the soldiers bold. This tell the kings in every part, for so grave legates should, that they may better counsels use to save their fleet and friends by their own valors, since this course, drowned in my anger, ends. Course drowned in my anger ends. Phoenix may in my tent repose, and in the morn steer course for Thia. If he think it good. If not, I'll use no force. For Thia, if he think it good. If not, I'll use no force. All. If not, I'll use no force. If not, I'll use no force. All wondered at his stern reply, and Phoenix, full of tears, his words would be more. And Phoenix, full of fears, his words would be more weak than just, supplied their wants with tears. All right, we got to add a note for Phoenix here. I don't think he's ever spoken. I don't think he ever speaks except for in this book, actually. Okay, 1:13:30. Phoenix. If thy return incline thee thus, Peleus, renowned joy, and thou wilt let our ships be burned with harmful fire of Troy. If thy return incline thee thus, their wants with tears. If thy return incline thee thus, Peleus, renowned joy. If thy return incline thee thus, Peleus, renowned joy, and thou wilt let our ships be burned, and thou wilt let our ships be burned with harmful fire of Troy, since thou art angry. O my son, how shall I after be alone in these extremes of death, relinquished by thee? I, whom thy royal father sent as orderer of thy force, when to Atrides from his court he left thee for his course. When to Atrides father sent as orderer of thy force, when to Atrides from his court he left thee for his course. Yet he left thee for his course, yet young, and when in skill of arms thou didst not so abound, nor hadst the habit of discourse that makes men so renowned, in all which I was set by him to instruct thee as my son, that thou mightst speak when speech was fit, and do when deeds were done, not sit as dumb for want of words, idle for skill to move. I would not then be left by thee, dear son, begot in love. No, not if God would promise me to raise the Prince of Time, curved in my... No, not if God... For want of words, idle for skill to move. I would not then be left by thee, dear son, begot in love. No, not if God would promise me to raise the Prince of Time, carved in my bosom and my brows, and grace me with the prime of manly youth, as when at first I left sweet Helle's shore, decked with fair dames, and fled the grudge. Decked with fair dames, Helle's shore, decked with fair dames, and fled the grudge of my dames, and fled the grudge my angry father bore, who was the fair Amintor called, surnamed Ormenides, and for a fair-haired harlot's sake, that his effects could please, contemned by my mother, his true wife, who ceaseless urged me to use his harlot Clytia, and still would clasp my knee to do her will, that so my sire might turn his love to hate, of that lewd dame, converting it to comfort her estate. At last I was content to prove to do my mother good, and reconcile my father's love, who straight suspicious stood. My father's love, who straight suspicious stood, pursuing me with many a curse, and to the Furies prayed, no dame might love, nor bring me seed. The deities obeyed that govern hell, infernal Jove and stern Persephone. Then durst I in no longer date with my stern father be. Yet did my friends and near allies enclose me with desires not to depart, killed sheep, boars, beeves, roast them at solemn fires, and from my father's tuns we drunk exceeding store of wine. 9 nights they guarded me by turns, their fires did ceaseless shine. One in the porch of his strong hall, and in the portal one, portal one before my chamber. But when day beneath the 10th night shone, I break my 10th night shone. I break 10th night shone. I break my chambers. 10th night shone. 10th night shone. I break my chamber's thick-framed doors, and through the hall's guard passed, unseen of any man or maid. Though Greece then rich and vast, or maid, through Greece then, maid, through Greece then rich, through Greece then rich and vast, I fled to Phthia, nurse of sheep, and came to Peleus' court, who entertained me heartily, and in as gracious sort as any sire his only son, born when his strength is spent, and blessed with great possessions to leave to his descent. Gracious sort as any sire to his loved son, as any sire to his only son, born when his strength is spent, and blessed with great possessions to leave to his descent. He made me rich, and to my charge did much commend. I dwelt in the utmost region rich. I dwelt in the utmost region rich Phthia doth. Region rich Phthia doth extend, and governed the Dolopians, and made thee what thou art. The Dolopians, and made thee what thou art. O thou that like the gods are framed, since dearest to my heart I used thee so, thou lov'st none else, nor anywhere wouldst sit, nor anywhere wouldst eat, till I had crowned my lov'st none else, nor anywhere wouldst eat, till I had crowned my knee with thee, and carved thee tenderest meat, and given thee wine so much for love that in thy infancy, which still discretion must protect, and a continual eye, my bosom lovingly sustained the wine. My bosom lovingly sustained the wine. My bosom lovingly sustained the wine thine could not bear. My bosom lovingly sustained the wine thine could not bear. Then now my strength not bear. Then now my strength needs thine as much. Now my strength needs thine as much. Be mine to thee as dear. Much have I suffered for thy love, much labored, wished much, thinking since I must have no heir, the gods' decree is such. Have no heir, the gods' decrees are such. I would adopt thyself my heir. To me thy heir. To thee my heart did give, what any sire could give his son. In thee I hoped to live. His son, in thee I hoped to live. O mitigate thy mighty spirits, it fits not one that moves the heart of all to live, not one that moves the hearts of all to live unmoved, and succor hates, unmoved, and succor hates for loves. The gods themselves are flexible, whose virtues, honors, powers are more than thine. They will bend their breasts as we bend ours, are more than thine. Yet they will bend their breasts as we bend ours. Perfumes, benign devotions, savors of offerings burned, and holy rites the engines are with which their hearts are turned by men that pray to them, whose faith their sins have falsified. For prayers are daughters of great Jove, falsified. For prayers are daughters of great Jove, lame, wrinkled, ruddy-eyed, and ever-following injury, whose strong and sound of feet flies through the world afflicting men. And ever-following injury, whose strong and sound of feet flies through the world afflicting men, believing prayers yet. Afflicting men. Believing prayers yet, to all that love that seed of Jove, the certain blessing get to have Jove hear and help them too. But to have Jove hear and help them too. But if he shall refuse and stand inflexible to them, then fly to Jove. Believing prayers yet, to all that love that seed of Jove, the certain blessing get to have Jove hear and help them too. But if he shall refuse and stand inflexible to them, then fly. Inflexible to them, they fly to Jove and use their powers against him. They fly to Jove and use their powers against him, that the wrongs he doth to them may fall on his own head, and pay those pains whose cure he fails to call. And pay those pains whose cure he fails to call. Then great doth may fall on his own head, and use their powers against him, that the wrongs he doth to them may fall on his own head, and pay those pains whose cure he fails to call. Then, great Achilles, honor thou this sacred seed of Jove, and yield to them. Then, great Achilles, honor thou this Great Achilles, honor thou this sacred seed of Jove. Honor thou this sacred seed of Jove, and yield to them, since other men of greatest minds they move. If Agamemnon would not give the selfsame gifts he vows, but offer other afterwards, and in his still bent brows entomb his honor and his word, I would not thus exhort, with wrath appeased thy aid to Greece, though plagued in heaviest sort, but much he presently will, though plagued in heaviest sort, but much he presently will give, and after yield the rest, to assure which he hath sent to thee the men thou lovest best, and most renowned of all the host, that they might soften thee. Then let not both their pains and prayers lost and despised be, before which none could reprehend the tumult of thy heart. But now to rest in expiate were too. But now, before which none could reprehend the tumult of thy heart. But now to rest in expiate were much too rude a part. Of ancient worthies we have heard, when they were more displeased to their high fames, with gifts and prayers they still have been too rude a part. Of ancient worthies we have heard, when they were more displeased to their high fames, with gifts and prayers Of ancient worthies we have heard, when they were more displeased with Of ancient worthies we have heard, when they were more displeased to their high fames, with gifts and prayers they have been still appeased. For instance, I remember well a fact performed of old, which to you of all my friends I'll tell. The curates wars did hold with the well-fought Aetolians, where mutual lives had end about the city Calydon. The Aetolians did defend their flourishing country, which to spoil the curates did contend. Diana with the golden throne, with Aeneas much incensed, since his golden throne, with Aeneas much incensed, since his plenteous land's first fruits she was not reverenced. Yet other gods with hecatombs had feasts, and she alone, great Jove's bright daughter, left unserved, or by oblivion, or undue knowledge of her dues, much hurt in heart she wore. And she, enraged, excited much, she sent a sylvan boar from their green groves with wounding tusks, who usually did spoil King Aeneas' fields, His lofty woods lay prostrate on the soil, rent by the roots trees fresh, adorned with fragrant apple flowers, which Meleager, Aeneas' son, slew with assembled powers of hunters and of fiercest hounds, from many cities brought. For such was he that with few lives his death could not be bought. Heaps of dead humans by his rage the funeral piles applied, yet slain at last. For such was he that with few lives his death could not be bought. Heaps of dead humans by his rage the funeral piles applied. Yet slain at last, the goddess stirred about his head and hide a wondrous tumult, and a war betwixt the curates wrought and brave Aetolians. All the while fierce Meleager fought, ill fared the curates. Near the walls none durst advance his crest, though they were many. But when wrath inflamed his haughty breast, which oft the firm mind of the wise with passion doth infest, since twixt his mother queen and him arose a deadly strife. Since twixt his mother queen and him arose a deadly strife, he left the court, and privately lived with his lawful wife, fair Cleopatra, female birth of bright Marpessa's pain, and of Idaeus, who of all terrestrial men did reign at that time king of fortitude, and for Marpessa's sake, 'gainst wanton Phoebus, king of flames, his bow in hand did take, since he had ravished her his joy. Whom her friends after gave the surname of Alcyone, because they could not save their daughter from Alcyone's fate. In Cleopatra's arms lay Meleager, feeding on his anger for the harms his mother prayed might For the harms his mother prayed might fall on him, who for her brother slain by... For the harms his mother prayed might fall on him, who for her brother... Feeding on his anger. For the harms his mother prayed might fall on him, who for her brother slain by Meleager grieved and prayed the gods to wreak her pain with all the horror could be poured upon her furious birth. Still knocked she with her impious hands the many-feeding earth to urge stern Pluto and his queen to incline their vengeful ears, fell on her knees, and all her breast dewed with her fiery tears, to make them massacre her son, whose wrath enraged her thus. Erinyes, wandering through the air, heard out of Erebus prayers fit for her unpleased mind. Yet Meleager lay obscured in fury. Yet Meleager lay obscured in fury. Then the bruit of tumultuous fray rung through the turrets as they scaled. Then came the Aetolian peers to Meleager with low suits to rise and free their fears. Then sent they the chief priests of gods with offered gifts to atone his differing fury, bade him choose in sweet-soiled Calydon of the most fat and yieldy soil, what with 100 steers might in 100 days be ploughed, half that rich vintage bears, and half of naked earth to plough, yet yielded not his ire. Naked earth to plough, yet yielded not his ire. Then to his lofty chamber door ascends his royal sire, with ruthful plaints shook the strong bars. Then came his sister's cries, his mother then, and all entreat. Yet still more stiff he lies. His friends, most reverend, most esteemed, yet none impression took, till the high turrets where he lay, and his strong chamber shook with the invading enemy, who now forced dreadful way along the city. Then his wife, in pitiful dismay, besought him, weeping, telling him the misery sustained by all the citizens whose town the enemy had gained. Men slaughtered, children bond slaves made, sweet ladies forced with lust, fires climbing towers and turning them to heaps of fruitless dust. These dangers softened his steel heart. Up, fruitless dust. These dangers softened his steel heart. Up the stout prince arose, endued his body with rich arms, and freed the Aetolians' woes. His smothered anger giving air, which gifts Aetolians' woes, his smothered anger giving air, which gifts did not assuage, but his own peril. And because he did not disengage their lives for gifts, their gifts he lost. But for my sake, dear friend, be not thou bent to see our plights to these extremes descend, ere thou assist us. Be not so by thy ill angel turned from thine own humour. Ill angel turned from thine own honour. It was shame to see our navy burned, and then come with thy time. It was shame to see our navy burned, and then come with thy timeless aid. And then come with thy timeless aid. And then come with thy timeless aid. For offered presents come. Aid. For offered presents come, and all timeless aid. For offered presents come, and all the Greeks will honor thee as of celestial room. But if without these gifts thou fight, forced by thy room. But if without these gifts thou room. But if without these gifts thou fight, forced by thy private woe, thou wilt be forced by thy private woe. Thou wilt be nothing so renowned, though thou repel the foe. Thou wilt be nothing so renowned, though thou repel the foe. Though thou repel the foe. Achilles answered the last part of his oration. Achilles answered the last. Repel the foe. Achilles answered the last part of this oration thus. Let us ask some prophet, priest, or prove some dream interpreter. Achilles answered the last part of this oration thus. Phoenix, renowned and reverend, the honors urged on us we need not. Jove doth honor me. We need not. Jove doth honor me, and to my safety sees, and will, whiles I retain a spirit, retain a spirit. Jove doth honor me, and to my safety sees, and will, whilst I retain a spirit, or can command my knees. Then do not thou with tears and woes impassion my effects, becoming gracious to my foe. Nor fits it the respects of thy vowed love. Impassion my effects, becoming gracious. Then do not thou with tears and woes impassion my effects, becoming gracious to my foe. Nor fits it the respects of thy vowed love to honor him that hath dishonored me, lest such loose kindness lose his heart that yet is firm to thee. It were thy praise to hurt with me. It were thy praise to hurt with me, the hurter of my state, since half my honor and my realm thou mayst participate. Let these lords return the event, and do thou. Let these lords participate. My honor and my realm thou mayst participate, since half my honor and my realm thou mayst participate. Let these lords then return the event, and do thou here repose. And when dark sleep breaks with the day, our council shall disclose the course of our return. Our council shall disclose the course of our return or stay. This said, he with his eye made to his friend a covert sign to hasten instantly a good soft bed, that the old prince, soon as the peers were gone, might take his seat. When soldier-like, brave Ajax Telamon spake to Ulysses, as with thought. To Ulysses, as with thought. To Ulysses, as with thought, Achilles was not worth the high direction of his speech, that stood so sternly forth, unmoved with the other orators, and spake not to appease Pelides' wrath, but to depart. His arguments were these. O friends, the lot is mine. Unmoved with that stood so sternly forth, unmoved with the other orators, and spake not to appease Pelides' wrath, but to depart. His arguments were these. High-issued Laertides, let us insist no more on his persuasion. I perceive the world would end before our speeches end in this affair. We must with utmost haste return his answer, though but bad. The peers are elsewhere placed, and will not rise till we return. Great Thetis' son hath stored proud wrath within him, as his wealth, and will not be implored, rude that he is, nor his friends' love respects, do what they can. Nor his friends' love respects, do what they can, wherein past all we honored him. O unremorseful man, honored him. O unremorseful man, honored him. O unremorseful man, another for his brother slain, another for his son, accepts of satisfaction, and he the deed hath done lives in beloved society long after his amends, to which his foe's high heart for gifts with patience condescends. But thee, a wild and cruel spirit, the gods for plague have given, and for one girl of whose fair sex we come to offer seven, the most exempt for excellence, and many a better prize. Then put a sweet mind in thy breast, respect thy own allies, though others make thee not remiss. A multitude we are, sprung of thy royal family, and our supremest care is to be most familiar, and hold most love with thee, of all the Greeks. How great and host soever there be. Of all the Greeks, how great an host soever here there be. He answered, Noble Telamon, prince of our soldiers here, out of thy heart I know thou soldiers here, out of thy heart I know thou speakest. Out of thy heart I know thou speakst, and as thou holdst me dear, but I know thou speakst, and as thou holdst me dear, but still as often holdst me dear, but still as often as I think how rudely I was used, and like a stranger for all rights fit for our good refused, my heart doth swell against the man that durst be so profane to violate his profane, to violate his sacred place, not for my private bane, but since racked virtue's general laws he shameless did infringe. General laws, but since racked virtue's general laws he shameless did infringe, for whose sake did infringe. General laws he shameless did infringe, for whose sake I will loose the reins and give mine anger, will loose the reins and give mine anger swinge, without my wisdom's least impeach. He is a fool and base that pities vice-plagued minds when that pities vice-plagued minds when pain, not love of right, gives place. Pain, not love of right, gives place. And therefore tell your king, my lords, my just wrath will not care for all his cares, before my tents and navy charged are by warlike Hector. Just wrath will not care for all his cares, before my tents and navy charged are by warlike Hector, making way through flocks of Grecian lives, enlightened by their naval fire. But when his rage arrives about my tent and sable bark, I doubt not but to shield them and myself. And make him fly, their strong, their strong-bounded field. Them and myself, and make him fly their strong-bounded field. This said, each one but kissed the cup, and to the ships retired. Ulysses first, Patroclus then the men and maids. Ulysses first. Patroclus then the men and maids required to make grave Phoenix bed with speed, and see he nothing lacks. They straight obeyed, and thereon laid the subtle fruit of flax, and warm sheep fells for covering. And there the old man slept, attending till the golden morn her usual station kept. Old man slept, attending till the golden morn her usual station kept. Achilles lay in the inner room of his tent richly wrought. And warm sheep fells for covering. And there the old man slept, attending till the golden morn her usual flax, and warm sheep fells for covering. And there the old man slept, attending till the golden morn her usual station kept. Achilles lay in the inner room of his tent richly wrought, and that fair lady by his side he from Lesbos brought. Diomeda. Achilles lay in the inner room of his tent richly wrought, and that fair lady by his side that he from Lesbos brought, bright Diomeda, Phorbas' seed, Patroclus. and that fair lady by his side, that he from Lesbos brought, bright Diomeda, Phorbas' seed. Patroclus did embrace the beauteous Iphis, given to him when his bold friend did race the lofty Scyrus that was kept in Aeneas. Iphis, Phorbas' seed. Patroclus did embrace the beauteous Iphis, given to him when his bold friend did race the lofty Scyrus that was kept in Aeneas' hold. Now at the tent of Atreus' son, each man with cups of gold received the ambassadors returned. All clustered near, ambassadors returned. The ambassadors returned. All clustered near to know what news they brought, which first the king would have Ulysses show. Say, most praiseworthy Ithacus, the Grecians' great renown, will he defend us, or not yet will his proud stomach down? Ulysses made reply. Chryses, the mighty king of men, great Agamemnon sends. Stomach down. Down. Ulysses made reply. Not yet will he appease it be. But grows more wrathful, prizing light. Not yet will he appease it be, but grows more wrathful, prizing light thy offered gifts and thee, and wills thee to consult with us and take some other course to save our army and our fleet. Ulysses made reply. Not yet will he appease it be, but grows more wrathful, prizing light thy offered gifts and thee, and wills thee to consult with us and take some other course to save our army and our fleet, and says with all his force the morn shall light him on his way to Phthyia's wished soil. Light him on his way. With all his force the morn shall light him on his way to Phthyia's wished soil. For never shall high-seated Troy be sacked with all our toil. Jove holds his hand twixt us and it, the soldiers gather heart. Thus he replies, which Ajax here can equally impart, and both these heralds. Phoenix stays, for so was his desire, to go with him if he thought. Phoenix stays, for so was his desire, to go with him if he thought good. If not, he might retire. All wondered he should be so stern. At last, bold Diomed spoke. Suppress thine anger's powers. So stern. At last, bold Diomed spoke. Would God, Atreides, thy request were yet to undertake, and all thy gifts unoffered him. He's proud enough beside. Unoffered him. He's proud enough beside, but this ambassage. He's proud enough beside, but this ambassage thou hast sent will make him burst with pride. He's proud enough beside, but this ambassage thou hast sent will make him burst with pride. But let us suffer him to stay or go at his desire, fight when his stomach serves him best, or when Jove shall inspire. Serves him best, or when Jove shall inspire. Him best, or when Jove shall inspire. Meanwhile, our watch being strongly held, let us a little rest after our food. Strength lives by both, and virtue is their guest. Then, when the rosy-fingered morn holds out her silver light, after our little rest after our food, strength lives by both, and virtue is their guest. Then, when the rosy-fingered morn holds out her silver light, bring forth thy host, encourage all, and be thou first in fight. The kings admired the fortitude that so divinely moved the skillful horseman Diomed. The kings admired the fortitude that so divinely moved the skillful horseman. The kings admired the fortitude that so divinely moved the skillful horseman Diomed. Moved the skillful horseman Diomed, and his advice approved. Horseman Diomed, and his advice approved. Then, with their nightly sacrifice, each took his several tent, where all received the sovereign gifts, soft somnus did present. Where all received the sovereign gifts, soft somnus did present. Where all received the sovereign gifts, soft somnus did present. It's like a tongue twister, a lot of S's. Where all received the sovereign gifts, soft somnus did present.